Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Janet Yung, and in my channel I share about Feng Shui, 八字, entrepreneurship as well as personal growth in the areas of motivation, communication and leadership. So far, we have already gone through 12 of the animal horoscope forecast for the year 2021. So if you have not seen it, please click on the link that I'm showing here so that you can watch the 2021 forecast which I've shared over the last few weeks. Now, we know that from the forecast perspective, what the stars are for you in the year 2021. Would you like to find out how you can basically enhance your luck if you have already got your stars aligned, or protect yourself and health as well as happiness in the year 2021? So if you'd like to find out more, please do remember to stay tuned and I will share with you more. Welcome to this particular section. Here we're actually going to talk about Feng Shui because the last few weeks I've actually been sharing on the 2021 forecast for all the 12 animal horoscope signs. So what has Feng Shui got to do with how we can enhance our luck in the year 2021, or how we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from having misfortune, accidents, and ensure that we actually have got good health, harmony, prosperity as well? So let me explain a little bit more. Now here we're actually talking about three kinds of luck. The first one is what I've actually been sharing all along in the 2021 forecast, and one part of it is that your annual luck, the annual stars that are actually coming into your chart and whether they are aligned with you, as I mentioned before in 八字, which is basically your birth chart where we have the year, month, day and hour of birth. Now to some extent, this cannot be controlled because we cannot really control the kind of stars that will come into our chart. Our characteristics are generally inborn. We can manage, we can nurture, we can improve, but from that perspective, we cannot really control. Now the next kind of luck is what we call earth luck. Earth luck is generally Feng Shui. Feng Shui is really the kind of environment that we live in, we work in, we study in, and it's controllable. Why is it controllable? Mainly because we can choose the locations that we want to spend time doing our work, the rooms that we want to utilize to study as well as work. Especially nowadays, we have a lot of work from home situations. Then that is what we call controllable. The next one, it's really mankind luck. Now what's mankind luck? Mankind luck is really our attitude, education, background. And if you look at it, two persons born on the same day, same month, same year and same time of birth, they may have similar characteristics. The outcome in life can be very different, mainly because of their background, their values that develops in terms of their character. Therefore, they will generally take different kinds of choices and decisions and actions. Therefore, the outcome may vary because of that. So that's what I also call controllable. So if you look at it, the three kinds of luck generally is actually every type of luck has its strength, wanted, but through the years in my practice, I find the mankind luck in terms of your mindset, and then therefore deciding on the kind of sectors, the decisions, the actions that you will take play a crucial and important role. So in the next segment, I will share with you where are the good and the not so good sectors for the year 2021. Before we do that, let me just share with you how do you identify the sectors at home or in your office or in any apartment. Now a lot of people have this confusion about what's direction and what's sector that you should be spending time in. So let me share with you here. Here is an example of a floor plan. In the floor plan, you take the maximum width of the floor plan and the maximum length, and you can see that we are able to create 9 different sectors. Then after you have the 9 different sectors, you stand in the center of your home as I'm showing on the cursor here, where you basically can see the compass, and generally from there you can identify where are the north, south, east sectors in your home or the apartment that you are staying in. In this particular example, the north is actually pointing towards the bottom right. So this becomes then the north sector of your home, this square here. Now then in front here, this becomes the southeast sector. And from there, basically you plonk in all the various different sectors of this particular apartment, and that's how you identify the sectors within the apartment or office. Now, when we talk about facing direction, it is generally talking about us sitting facing our computer, us sitting facing a direction when we are working. Okay, that is basically a facing direction itself. Therefore, we can be sitting in the south sector, which can be your living room, okay, and then facing one direction, and for example the direction of north. If you go to another sector of your home, you can also be facing the same direction, which is north, correct? So let me show you in an example here. So in this particular example, you can see that here this direction is facing southeast. So the person can be seated in the southeast sector, which I measured earlier on. This is the southeast sector facing southeast. The person can also be sitting in this particular master bedroom sector facing southeast as well, or in the living room facing southeast. That's the difference between a sector and a facing direction. Facing direction is basically a person sitting down facing a particular direction, and therefore the person can be seated in any sector within their home facing one direction. Or when we talk about sector, is really talking about a location. So for this particular apartment, you have the north at the main entrance area, the south in this part of the master bedroom and part of it missing, the east sector in the living room, and then the west sector, some parts of it missing, and then you have the rest of the sectors as well. So that's the difference between direction and sector. For today, I would like to touch on where are the not so great sectors at home that you need to either avoid, spend minimum time. Else, if it is your main door, your bedroom, and you have not much of a choice, I'll share with you what to do as well later on. So for the year 2021, what we're looking at is the worst sector is actually the southeast sector. And the southeast sector is basically where the misfortune 5 yellow star is. So misfortune 5 yellow star basically is if you spend too much in the room, you feel lethargic, things do not go well. And if you look at it, the energies are so bad that if you do knocking, cutting, renovation or drilling in this sector, a lot of times for my clients, they may be having, from a 八字 perspective or the horoscope perspective, supposedly a good year, but they went to do major knocking, cutting, breaking down of things in the southeast sector, which is the 5 yellow sector this year, then things may go significantly wrong for them. So that is one area or one sector you have to be very, very careful with. The next sector that can cause lethargy, illness is the north sector in the year 2021. So if you have an elderly sleeping in the home or someone who is still trying to recover, it's best that they do not spend too much time in the north sector this year. Then the accident sector is the northwest sector. Now the northwest element is that of metal. So with the metal number 7 star in it, it's actually a pretty strong star in the year 2021. So what does the number 7 cause? Number 7 can cause accidents, it can cause carelessness. If I have a child studying in the northwest sector this year, for example, maybe when they are trying to do their homework, their math problems, studying for an exam, they tend to be more careless, therefore making more mistakes at work or during the exams. If you are an adult and you're driving, because you are not paying full attention, Therefore, at times you get into accidents, you knock yourself, you lose items. That's what the number 7 star is. It can cause also someone to be a bit more aggressive, but the good side of being aggressive is maybe the person will be speaking up a little bit more. However, if you spend too much time there, it may cause disagreements and aggression as well. Now, then we have the number 3 argumentative energies in the year 2021. With the argumentative energies, depending on how you want to use it, if you have a child whom you want to basically push a little more because the child is maybe not putting in a lot of effort in terms of study, then spending time there is great because the 3 star gets you to be more competitive. However, if it is your bedroom, an area where you have discussion, unless it's more from a advancement perspective, if you're talking about love, talking about harmony, then spending too much time in the number 3 argumentative energy area can be an issue, generally because it can cause major disagreements. Now, you may be thinking, what happens if my room happen to be in the southeast sector or the north sector? What do I do? What happens if my northwest, which is actually the accident area, is my main door and I cannot get out of it because every day in and out I will be generally having to use the main door? So here we will talk about the elements on how you can control a little later and how you can protect yourself. So this is one example that I'd like to show you based on the sectors that we divide out a little earlier. You can see that for this particular apartment itself, the misfortune energy is within this particular sector. The center is here, and then the wealth, which is the west sector, is occupying within these 2 rooms. Okay, so therefore spending time in the good areas in terms of doing your work, as well as various different activities which I will share in next week's video. And this is another example of an apartment of the various different sectors based on when you stand in the center. In this case, this apartment is showing that north is straight in front, therefore this is the north sector of this apartment. Let's talk about how do you basically protect yourself if you have no choice but to utilize the inauspicious sectors that I mentioned earlier on. Here we generally utilize the 5 elements, and if you have seen one of my videos on the 5 elements, you will probably understand. If not, you can click on the link that I'm pointing here right now to understand a little bit more on the 5 elements. So here I'll just briefly run through. Normally when we want to activate, we use the productive cycle of wood producing fire, fire producing earth, earth producing metal, metal producing water, and water producing wood. But when we are talking about trying to control a negative or inauspicious energy, we usually will either use the exhaustive cycle, which is the reverse of the productive cycle. For instance, earth exhausting fire, fire exhausting wood, wood exhausting water, and water exhausting metal, or metal exhausting earth. Or at times we can actually use the destructive cycle as well. For instance, if you are looking at the fire element, I will use water to destroy fire, or basically douse of fire. I can also use fire to melt metal. I can use metal to chop wood. However, I don't use the destructive cycle that often, mainly because when you use destructive energies, there is a little bit of clashing of energies, which may make things a little bit what we call noisy, uncomfortable. So most times, if I can, I'll choose the exhaustive cycle first before the destructive cycle. So let's go back to the auspicious and inauspicious stars. When we look at basically the home, in this case, the southeast misfortune energy is within the living and balcony area of this particular apartment. Now, the misfortune 5 yellow energy is that of the earth element. So earth element, if you remember from my previous chart, it's you will use the metal element to exhaust it. So therefore, you can place metallic items, dumbbells. Sometimes, because my clients already have their fixed decor, I'll recommend them to use the 5-element pagoda as seen here. Or they can basically use a lot of the colors of white, silver, gold that represent the colors of metal. Now the 5 yellow star is also that of the earth element that can be enhanced much further if you have too much of fire energies or earth energy. So I would usually advise my clients not to use too much of the colors of red, pink, orange, yellow, beige, light brown, or too much crystals, porcelain within the southeast sector or the 5 yellow sector for the year. So that's how you basically would want to tackle the southeast if you have no choice but to spend time there. If it's your bedroom and you have no choice, maybe only when you need to sleep you go in. And the key thing is to not do knocking, drilling, renovation there. The illness star, which is in the north, in this house they don't really have to worry because it's mainly outside or in the balcony. But if it's really your bedroom, because the element of illness, number 2, is also earth, so you will take it and control it similarly like the misfortune 5 yellow star, which is to have more metal element energies and less of the fire and earth element energies. Then if you look at actually this number 7 accident star, it's a big metal star. So if you remember, in the 5 element cycle, metal is drained by water. So if it's a bedroom though, I generally will not use a lot of water. You can use still water in terms of the colors of blue, black, gray. You can basically not enhance or make it worse by having too much earth and metal elements like crystals, metallic items, or having too much discussion in this particular area. Unless you are actually practicing for speaking, you're trying to be a bit more aggressive, then yes, you can spend time there. The other inauspicious sector is the quarrelsome sector in the southwest this year. So in this case, the number 3 quarrelsome sector is within the master bedroom. In the master bedroom, I probably will not have major discussions for the couple because it may cause disagreements. And if you are looking at the quarrelsome star number 3, the element is wood. So therefore, I will not use too much of the water and wood colors. Water is blue, black, gray. Wood colors are green and dark brown. I'll use more of actually the red colors because it will exhaust the number 3 quarrelsome star's wood element. In the other sense, I may also put in some reinforcement in having good relationship by having couple pictures there, loving images like Mandarin ducks, just to remind us that, hey, it's the year's energy that's disturbing our relationship. We should take that into consideration and not let small little things disturb us. Now, through my years of experience, I find that sometimes we argue for argumentative sake. And a lot of couples feedback to me, they don't really even understand why they're arguing, because after that they felt that it was such a small thing. And usually this is because of the feng shui energies that's disturbing you. Now, by avoiding spending time in these areas or spending minimal time and choosing your activities carefully, you can then actually have a smoother year in terms of protecting your family's health, protecting your family's safety, and having harmony at home. So this is the end of today's episode where I share about the inauspicious sector. Next week, I'll share how you can basically enhance your luck in the year 2021 by spending time or doing certain kind of activities in the correct sectors in your home or your office. Till next week, goodbye.